Okay. Which industry is representative of your organization?
It would be nonprofit.
Okay. And then what is your role?
Well, my current role is I'm a risk management and governance advisor and consultant for the nonprofit leaders and nonprofit board of directors. I have in the past been the president CEO of two nonprofit organizations in the past, so I have a lot of hands-on experience, but now I'm mostly consulting and advising.
Okay. And how long have you been in this position for?
Almost 45 years.
Okay. And what is your greatest achievement in your role?
You know, when I saw that question, I thought, oh man, my greatest achievement in the role, I would say, is twofold. The first one is that had the privilege with my team to head up the team that launched the second pro-life medical clinic in the United States in the Seattle, Washington area. And I've always seen that as one of my greatest accomplishments. And from that, then, I've been able to assist close to 800 other uh, pregnancy resource organizations to add pro-life medical clinic sexual health services from a Christian perspective. Then I think the other thing is the other side of it is just having the privilege of working with, I have 1,200 pro-life Christian ministries that I work with. And I would say my greatest accomplishment there is long-term coaching that I've been able to do with a number of executive directors who have gone on to become state and national leaders. And so to watch them uh, in their accomplishments brings me great joy.
Okay. And then what management principles, strategies, or processes did you employ that you believe led to this effective organizational outcome?
Okay, what processes? Well, I, what was it? What was the first word you said? Something and processes?
What management principles, strategies, or processes
Okay.
did you use?
Okay. All right. Got it. All right. The difference I have found that to be successful in this in the area, and it's what I teach too, is it takes two kinds of commitments, particularly from leaders. The first one is that it takes a tenacity and a determination to be the very best that you can be. You take that personal responsibility for understanding yourself and how you're wired and how what you need to have to be successful. Number two, you take a look at what your needs are. So you're continually evaluating yourself as far as areas that you need to grow in. And then third is that you find people who can help you or you take responsibility for those areas of growth. For example, I'm a huge believer in coaching, executive coaching, and uh, I made it a point when I was a new president CEO to find people who were smarter than me in areas that I needed to grow in. And I would seek out coaches, people that I would like to acquire their skills. And I would seek them out and ask them if they wouldn't coach me or if they wouldn't spend some time with me to help better understand how I can be as successful as they are. And secondly, I took the responsibility of going out after the kind of education that I needed to have in order to be a good leader. And that education is something that while you can go to, like a university that has a leadership program, that's wonderful. But then your growth as a leader is revolves around two areas. The first one is knowledge. The second one is the school of hard knocks. So the knowledge, there's so much out there with through coaches or taking a specific, getting a degree in leadership or, taking classes, that kind of thing. That's the head knowledge. And, Hosea chapter 4, it talks about how men perish for the lack of knowledge. So knowledge is something that you take responsibility for. You understand your gaps, your personality, and what you need to be successful. And then the other part, which I believe is really a God thing, it's the school of hard knocks. Because you can get a lot of education, I had a lot of education, a lot of coaching, but my best lessons in leadership was actually the practical side of leading. And that's a whole different thing, because your goal is to build confidence as a leader, but that takes knowledge and then it takes time. And sometimes there's just no shortcuts. I learned that over my years' experience that uh, I can get all the knowledge I need to have, but until I'm out there experiencing it and put it into practice, that's really where the wisdom comes and the importance. You can have a lot of knowledge, but then you have to have the really the biblical wisdom of knowing how to apply that knowledge.
Mhm. I like that. And then why do you consider this achievement to have been so impactful for you?
Well, I have I feel that it's impactful, and why it's meaningful to me is because as a Christian, I believe God's word is true and I believe in the sanctity of human life. My background is such that I think it has compelled me to speak out on behalf of the unborn and to speak out and help women. One of my goals is that no pregnant woman feels like she has no choice but to abort. And so the big satisfaction I have over the years is the thousands and thousands of women who have, number one, made a choice for life for their unborn child when they would not have. And number two, by making a choice for life and not having an abortion, they are not, they haven't exposed themselves to a spiritual evil that occurs when women have abortions. I've not had an abortion, but I know many who have, and they will tell me how when they had that abortion, or before they had the abortion, they would hear this whisper in their head just telling them, if you only have an abortion, your life will go back to the way it was and nobody will find out and your life will be all better again. But in reality, they said what happened is that after the abortion, that same voice that was in their head telling them that this would be the answer was the voice that condemned them and told them how shameful they were, what bad person they were. They killed their baby and they'll never be happy. And now they will never see that child that they killed. So I find it very satisfying to help as many women as possible to prevent them from having that kind of spiritual challenge. Not that I've I know that they tell me that God has forgiven them and they've come to a place of peace, but they say they're never truly healed. And I believe that. I believe that when you kill an innocent human being, that you're never truly healed until you get to heaven. So again, the babies that God has called into existence, because I believe that. I believe that every child that God has called into existence for a purpose and a reason. And I like the privilege of seeing many of those babies that are alive now because of my work. And I am so grateful to see that women have avoided the agony of abortion and the spiritual consequences of it, who made a choice for life. I find that very very fulfilling and it's such an honor and a privilege to do that. So that's what I feel is the biggest thing for me.
And what is one significant challenge slash ethical dilemma you have faced in your management role, and how did you handle it?
Uh, that's a great question. Some of the greatest challenges that I am facing currently, probably especially in the last 20 years, is consulting with Christian ministries that have conflicts, that they have, because our greatest enemy is not the world. It's not the pro-abortion world out there. The greatest enemy is our spiritual enemy that wants to destroy families, wants to destroy the mission of people who are called to serve the Lord. And there's forces of darkness that want to destroy the mission of pro-life Christian organizations. And I work with a lot of organizations who are calling me because they're in trouble with internal operations. Things are not going well. There's a lot of conflict. And sometimes that conflict falls in two categories. It either falls under what is called a whistleblower policy, which is the whistleblower policy is a federal policy. It provides protections for someone that is reporting to a superior that there's something illegal, unethical, or immoral going on. And so I have to go in and determine, is this illegal, unethical, or immoral? And if it is, then there's certain path that I take the organization to deal with it. But I have to say that most of the time, that's not the case. Most of the time, it's what is called an interpersonal conflict, meaning Christians that don't get along. They don't like their supervisor. They don't, they're offended. They've been offended by that person, and they're upset and are causing problems within the organization. And so now, I will go in there, and once I've identified that it's interpersonal, then we approach it from the direction of, is this something, how can we resolve this? If we can't resolve it, then basically who needs to leave? Because sometimes when by the time they call me in, the moral dilemma is, can we fix this? If we can't fix it by uh, applying Matthew 18 principles and mitigation principles, if that can't happen, then I help them to release people that the bad behavior is so bad, is doing such harm to the organization. Because as leaders, you are responsible for the corporate culture. And the corporate culture is going to happen by default or by purpose. And that corporate culture, being the responsibility of the leader of the organization, includes not allowing bad behavior to continue in such a way that it causes what would I say, the mission of all of the other staff and personnel. If they're unable to fulfill their job descriptions and get distracted, then there needs to be some what they call corrective action. Corrective action is oftentimes one of the first steps I take, and the second step is I help to release people for whom just need to no longer work in the environment that they're in because of the continued damage that they're doing.
Okay. And then, what was the mission, vision, and strategy of your organization?
Well, the mission of my organization is to assist Christian pro-life organizations to fulfill God's purpose for them. And so we work closely with the leaders to help identify and protect and advance their mission. So it's more of us working with other organizations to be successful.
Okay, perfect. And is that the vision statement as well?
The vision statement, the vision statement is to see pro-life, Christian pro-life organizations to thrive in the United States. But, vision statements are, you're always striving for that. Mission statements are the one that with the IRS wants to see that your corporate mission statement is measurable.
Mhm.
And so, but the vision statement is more, we're always striving for this. It's really hard to measure it, saying we want organizations, Christian pro-life organizations to thrive. Well, you're always reaching for that. You're never going to fully attain it.
Okay, and then what was the strategy of the organization in order to make mission and vision statements happen?
Well, the strategy is number one, to make sure that your mission statement is measurable. The number two, that you have put into place policies and procedures that support that mission, that both advances it and protects it. For a nonprofit corporation, nonprofit corporations are different than for-profit in that in a for-profit corporation, for-profit corporations, when they make money, that money belongs to the company. But for a nonprofit corporation, the IRS says that money that you get from your donors as a nonprofit is not your money. You are simply a fiduciary of that money that's given to you by the donors. So the strategy is to make sure that you have two things going on as a nonprofit. You have two basic customers in my work. You have one that are the donors who are customers of my customers, and then the clients, the people they serve. And so the strategy is to help them to develop the policies and the procedures, the strategic plans for implementing and growing their organizations so that it can be advanced and protected. So we accomplish that through a wide variety. We don't provide as many services that we used to because we're kind of gearing down and semi-retiring. But right now in the past, let me say in the past, we provided workshops, national trainings. We worked with Focus on the Family for 5 years with their projects and their Sanctity of Human Life division. I teach a lot and continue to teach a lot of board trainings about what is the corporate requirements, what does the law require for the state and the federal government regarding board of directors. So we have a lot of trainings for board of directors. I have boot camps for new executive directors that are 6 to 9 week boot camps to help the new executive directors understand what their jobs is and what it is not. I have taught marketing and fundraising seminars across the country. So we focused on the big picture leadership. We didn't do, we, I have my other team members will focus on the more management, drilling down and getting into the specifics on the policies and procedures for internal management, because I'm not wired to be a detailed manager. I'm wired to work with the leadership, developing leadership skills, leadership strategies. And so, like I said, I do have team members who specialize in some of the details, and then they handle the detail management trainings and things like that.
Fit. And then how essential is the entrepreneurial mindset in achieving the mission, vision, and strategy of the organization?
The entrepreneurial mindset is critical to every leader of every nonprofit I have ever worked with. It was critical for me. I have, I think, a natural entrepreneurial bent, but I didn't know that when I first got into it. Um, because as a leader, and there's three kinds of executive leaders. There's the executive manager, there's the executive leader, and then there's the visionary leader. And you're wired certain ways, but at some point in the organization, you have to approach things from an executive perspective and I focus on the executive leadership and visionary leadership side. I can't remember the question. I think I took a side trail there. What was
Is
the question?
how essential is the entrepreneurial
Ah,
mindset in achieving the mission, vision,
okay.
and strategy of the
Yeah.
organization?
I would say one of the biggest components of being an entrepreneur mindset is that you have to be able to see things you you have to have the ability to want to see things that do not exist yet. You want to work towards and help them to call them into existence. Like the entrepreneur spirit to say, you know what, we need to reach more high schoolers with a better understanding of how their body works. And but at that time, there's no one doing that. So an entrepreneur, it's very important that they can get excited about and see things. They have the ability to capture opportunity. They see a need, they see that that need is not being met, and they have the what excites them is the creating something that hasn't existed yet into existence. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say that is really big for my area that I work with people on. And because I work with a lot of visionary leaders who are just called, God gives them a vision, that gives them a burden, it gives them a insight into something. Then the other side of that is the tenacity to make it happen. Now, tenacity, a leader just can't make things happen on their own. They have to know, number one, how to build a team, and they have to know what they need as a leader in order to be successful. Those two things are critical to the entrepreneur leader. Because if you don't get the right people in the right places doing the right things, you can have all the vision in the world, but you're unable to pull it off.
Mhm. Is there an example you have of that like you've gone through during your time at your organization
An example of what?
of having to use the entrepreneurial mindset in your organization?
Oh, yeah. Uh, I'll go back to, as I stated, what I feel is one of my biggest accomplishments is that I ran what's called a pregnancy resource center in the King County area in Seattle. And one of our goals was to reach women who were pregnant but needed help. And I did some research and discovered that we really weren't seeing as many women as we could be seeing. And so then I did a little bit more research and discovered that not only were we not seeing as many people as we should, we really were not seeing the women that were abortion vulnerable. So that means that our mission statement that we were currently under, we just weren't doing it. So I had to go to the board and say, listen, here's our mission statement. This is what we tell people we do, but we're not doing it. So we need to change. I'm not really sure what that looks like, but you tell me if we're going to keep this mission statement the same, then we need to do something different, or we can change the mission statement. So they said, well, we would really feel like we're all called to help women make in the sanctity of human life and work with women who are abortion vulnerable. So I then um, started digging around and came up with the idea that we needed to become pro-life medical clinics. We're the first in the nation. I took it to a group of other national leaders and said, listen, here's the problem. I don't know what the solution is for sure because there's nothing else out there like that. There's no other Christian-based sexual health ministry out there that I'm aware of, but this is what I think we need to do. And so I brought it to the board, and the board said, go for it. Well, I had no roadmap. There was just nothing that I could turn to for it. So then I had the tenacity and the determination to say, we're going to find the answers. I don't have the answers. We're going to find the answers. The second thing I did was I knew my weakness was enough that I needed a team. So I said, okay, in order for me to pursue this any further, I need to have a person, I need to have a registered nurse who can help me with this. I need to have a doctor who can help me with this. I need to have someone who understands the medical system, like a medical administrator. What does the state require of us to become a licensed medical facility? So I couldn't do that. I didn't have the smarts to do it. So, but I did have the entrepreneur spirit to say, I need to put together people on my team who are smarter than me. And that really was, I always joke about, people say, how did you make that happen? I surrounded myself with people smarter than me. And so all I did was lead the team, ask the questions. They did the heavy lifting. And within a couple years, we had the first pro-life sexual health medical clinic in the United States. But I didn't do that long. I only did that because I spearheaded it. I had the entrepreneur spirit. I had the determination and the tenacity to do it. I understood myself well enough that I couldn't do it all and was able then to build the team that could make it happen.
Okay, perfect. And then apart from servant leadership and the entrepreneurial mindset, what are two significant lessons that are essential for success?
Okay, beyond tenacity, understanding yourself, having a commitment to continual learning. I've been doing like this for 45 years and I've still learned something all the time, like about leadership, about how to be a better leader. I think you have to have the ability to properly read the times because our culture is changing so fast that a really good entrepreneur has to know when there is an opportunity and when there's not an opportunity, how to watch for that opportunity, how to then, when that opportunity is there, what is the culture that they are serving in? Because I've always considered leaders, executive leaders, to be missionaries to a tribe. And as a missionary, you don't do things the way you want them to be done. You have to make sure that you're providing a service to your customer, which is your donor. For nonprofits, it's your donor. And in our case, it was the women that we served. And right now, with the donors, there are about 4 different generations of donors. They want different things. So you have to be able to, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, to understand what a baby boomer wants and what a Gen Xer wants and what a Gen Z wants as a donor. You have to be able to understand what the college students want. What are their pressures? What is it that they want? And um, give them what they want in a way that you can do that. But I can tell you, as someone who's been doing this for 45 years, is changing because our customers, our donors, and our clients are changing. So as an entrepreneur, you have to be able to adjust to the changing of the culture and the generational changes that are occurring.
Okay, and then the last question is, describe anything you wish you would have specifically avoided that may have derailed or delayed your success.
Oh, that's a great question. What do I wish I had avoided? I wish that I had avoided when I was a relatively new leader, trying to do too much on my own, uh, feeling like I had to do everything, being more concerned about what people would think Uh, and I had to learn that fearing God and honoring Him is more important than anything else there is, and that God is more concerned about my success than I am, and to seek out people who can help me and how to work as a team. I wish I had learned that faster. I feel like I learned it well, but I wish I had just learned it faster.
Yeah. Okay. That's all the questions.
Oh, yay! Good
Yay.
job.
Okay.
Well, I hope you have what you need. Let me know if you don't.
Well.